Good afternoon, everyone. I think some of you might still be coming to this opening inspirational talk, but I think we can start. So first of all, welcome all. My name is Massimo Iannetti. I'm part of the Winnie Smith's West team, and I'm coordinating all the inspirational talks and all the talks here at Winnie Smith's West this year. So it's a pleasure to have you here, first of all. This is our first opening inspirational talk, the first time that we do something like this here, and this is specifically dedicated to all the Inspirational Labs and only to the Inspirational Labs. So we are really glad to start off our talks with this talk in particular, and with a talk coordinated and supported by the Sustainable Leadership Inspirational Lab, in particular by the Screen International Institute, which we want to warmly thank for their support and their help for the coordination and the curation of the lab and the talk. Without further ado, I would like to welcome on stage Esther Krautz from the Screen International Institute to give a brief welcome.
Thank you very much, Massimo. Hello and welcome to this first opening inspirational talk. As I hear, I'm Esther Krautz. I run the International Screen Institute. We're a European training provider based in Vienna. And we have a program of short, focused training programs of 4 to 5 weeks each dedicated to a special topic. One dealing with legal aspects, that's the Business and Legal Affairs program. We have an audience design lab. We have the Market Ready program, which includes some information about hitting the international market and project mentoring. And the Sustainability Management program, dealing with a holistic approach to sustainability for the film industry. I forgot one. Future Ready, this year new. Our Future Ready program about AI and new technologies and how we deal with them, which includes a hands-on AI lab for producers, which we will be running in cooperation with EAFE. So much about the International Screen Institute. I am here, my chairwoman, Andrea Eliso Piso, is here. So if you would like to know more about our programs, please come and meet us. We're here during when East meets West. Saying that this is for the times we are not in the Inspirational Lab, which we will be running, Sustainable Leadership for Women, with our experts Katherine Dennis Gonzalez and Bettina Prokemper. And it's my big pleasure and honor to introduce to you Katherine Dennis Gonzalez, who will do this opening talk. She's a psychologist based in Vienna. Berlin. We have her so often that I have her dear to my heart everywhere. Katherine, welcome and thank you.
Hello. Okay, firstly, can I get this? Aha, yeah. It always makes me laugh to be referred to as an expert, so here I am, an expert in nothing. So keep your expectations low. My name is Katherine Dennis Gonzalez. I loathe speaking on a microphone. It is my worst fear. I keep thinking that if I put myself in this situation, I will, overcome it, but not today. So if I forget things or you see me start to sweat profusely in about 5 minutes, just be tender with me. It's this. Anyway, so my name is Katherine. I'm a therapist, I'm a neuropsychologist, I have a practice in Berlin, but I'm also a nervous system educator. You can refer to me with she, her pronouns. Identities that I use are queer, Latina, lover of pickles and books. So today we're going to be talking very briefly about storytelling. Right? So later, if anyone is in the Sustainable Leadership Lab, hands up. That's with me. What we're going to be learning about in sustainable leadership is how to sustainably use your resources, your psychological resources, your emotional resources, your intellectual resources, the resource of time, all of those things, in a way that prevents burnout, right, and other secondary illnesses, and how to run a business, how to run a production company, how to run a set in a way that supports your team and their resources. Yeah? So I was asked to also do this inspirational talk. It was told to me that it was an inspirational talk, but it didn't register to me that I should be inspirational. So I don't... but what I wanted to talk about, I got really excited immediately because I love stories. I love stories, and it is an honor for me to work with this industry. I don't work exclusively in the film industry, but I love it. Right? I love it. Because I work with people. Right? And people are a very particular kind of mammal. We're a very special mammal in that we differentiate ourselves from other mammals, from other animals, in that we're meaning-making mammals. We're storytelling mammals. That is the thing that makes us human, right? And when people say to me, you know, okay, you're a therapist, right? What is that? It's storytelling. It's just storytelling. Storytelling is everything. Storytelling is everything in mental health, right? So if somebody comes to me and they say, Katherine, I can't, I don't know, every time I meet a nice person, I sabotage the relationship, right? What I go is like, oh, there's a story there, right? And just like you would in like a documentary film, you just ask questions and then the story reveals itself, yeah? So because I work mostly on referrals, so one person refers me to another person, I've ended up with a lot of producers in my private practice. What I have learned is that this is a fun industry to be in, right? Okay, so high levels of uncertainty, financial uncertainty, change, pay inequalities, long hours, all of those things are all the things that I tell people not to do. So, yeah, so there is some, I want to say difficulties, not difficulties. Maybe there is a vacuum between information about how to deal with all of that and the experience of having to deal with all of that, right? And that's usually where I come in. So when they were asking me, you know, what do you want to talk about on stage, I got really excited and made like a 3-hour presentation about the brain and stories and production. And then my wife said, no, this is no, okay? No. But I think at the root of that, where I wanted to land, we only have 20 minutes, right, is for you guys to understand how powerful and how important stories are to us as mammals, as in your body. You are a person in a body, with a body, experiencing life through your body, right? And the stories that we tell ourselves and we tell about other people, about situations, so the stories that you have in your mind about this weekend, and the stories that you tell yourselves throughout the weekend will impact and are the deciding factor of how nice of a weekend you have. Right? So that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So because we're storytelling mammals, right? In terms of mental health, in terms of sustainability, how long you can do something for, right? Or things like, I don't know if the person leading the lab on AI is here, but that sounds fascinating. If I could, I would go to that, right? So all of these themes that bring up all of these things we don't like uncertainty, right? Having a constructive story about it changes everything, and it changes our physical reaction to it. Because we are storytelling mammals, our hardwiring, our body, right, is intertwined completely with the stories that we tell ourselves. So stories, it turns out, they influence how we digest our food, right? How robust our autoimmune system is, how we sleep, our libido, our lack of libido, if we don't sleep, if we can't wake up, right? The stories that we tell ourselves actually also completely dictate, and not just theoretically, physically. It's like a hardwiring. It's to do with your central nervous system, right? They dictate all of our executive functions, that you need to be a person and to do a job. And to do a hard job, you need them extra. So imagination, conflict resolution, abstract thought, impulse control, all of these things, right, depend on the stories that you tell yourself in any given moment. You all with me? I have a tendency to bore people with like facts about the brain, so I was just checking the room. Okay, we're good. Okay, so my invitation for today is to be mindful of the stories that you tell yourselves, right? That you tell yourselves about yourselves, about the future, about this industry. Yeah? Okay. Another fun thing that I love about stories is that it turns out that with stories, not only our own stories that we're telling ourselves and we're constructing about our lives, but with other people's stories, watching stories, you can really directly, really profoundly impact your nervous system, impact your body. So my clients who are in this industry, they tend to struggle with stress. Hands up who's stressed? Who experiences stress? Okay. So I thought I only have 20 minutes, but the most useful hack that I can give y'all for this weekend and for the industry in general is that it turns out that the number one best thing that you can do to regulate a stressed nervous system is to practice gratitude. Right? Has anyone got a therapist who's like, have a gratitude journal, practice gratitude? Have you heard that? Right, okay. It's not for no reason, but it turns out that a lot of us understand it incorrectly. So if you're thinking a gratitude journal, so wake up and say 3 things that I'm grateful for, that's incorrect. It's helpful, right? Do it, it's not a bad thing, but that doesn't actually affect your nervous system at all. It usually does not much, right? She's going, no, I know. For those of you who can't see, the person that was like, yeah, I do it, doesn't help at all. Okay, but there's a reason it doesn't help. So it turns out that gratitude is I don't know why, don't ask me why, I actually don't understand the science, but apparently gratitude is the number one thing that we can practice to take our nervous system from a state of stressed and activated, from a fear place, right? Where we have lots of cortisol, we have lots of inflammation, memory loss, difficulty focusing, and all of those things, to a place of a regulated nervous system, right? Where we have good digestion, cell reparation, creativity, imagination, sleep, yeah? But it's not the gratitude that we experience about ourselves. It's witnessing somebody else being grateful, right? So it turns out that if you see somebody experience gratitude, and you can have an embodied feeling of empathy of that gratitude, like, oh, that's so nice for that person, right? That is better for decreasing inflammatory markers of stress than breathing exercises, than a cuddle, than sleep, than yoga, than anything. And what's wonderful is that if you grab onto a story that really does it for you, right? You can do that in a minute. It takes a minute. You do it in your head, you feel it, it's done. You do that several times a day, and you're going to drastically reduce the secondary consequences of stress. So I thought, that's what I can talk about, right? The story that does it for me, does anybody know who this is? Nicholas Winton? Exactly. Makes me cry every time. There are many stories. This is the one that I keep in my heart. I don't know why. So this is a British guy here in the Second World War. He rescued and smuggled like about 700 children into the UK and other places via trains, via planes, via all of this. He did all of this secretly. But he kept a journal with their passport photos and their name and address in case they ever wanted to find their family. Never told anybody, never talked about it, never told anybody. Decades and decades later, he's old, he's this old. And his wife is cleaning out the attic and finds this journal. She hires a journalist to figure out what it is. And together, they find all of those children, it's like 700 children. Yeah? Cut to a few months later, she invites him to the theater. They go to the theater. These are the only slides that I have. They go to the theater, and he's just there sitting at the theater, and then somebody comes on stage and says, who here is alive because of this man? And every single person stands up. Now, you see, I really almost always want to cry. So they all stand up and make a cue to thank him, to shake his hand and to thank him. And these are all the literal children or descendants of the children that he saved. He had no idea. So the feeling that this brings up in me, like I get like, and I really want to cry. I'm a crier anyway, it's not hard, but this really gets me. The feeling that I get in my body, it has to be an embodied feeling of gratitude, like an embodied thing of like watching somebody else express gratitude, watching that interaction, that relational interaction of gratitude. This feeling is shown to be the number one hack, the number one way that we reduce the stress markers in our bodies. And it has to do with stories. Isn't that nice? It's nice, right? How much time do we have? I have a timekeeper somewhere. Where has he gone? He's here. 5 minutes, okay. I was going to suggest that you guys share your versions of this story amongst yourselves, but you can do that maybe afterwards when we go outside, right? If you share, have a think. The movies, it doesn't have to be a story like this, right? It's also happened to me in films where there's a story arc and then something happens and you go, right? That feeling, if you can invoke that feeling relatively regularly, really regulates your nervous system more than anything else, right? The power of stories is profound. The stories that we tell is profound, right? And then lastly, the invitation on that arc is last time, the last 5 minutes, what I wanted to say is the last time I was at one of these film festivals, you know, I'm not in the industry. I get invited because y'all are stressed. And like that's, like I don't know what to say, you know what I mean? I get invited because y'all are stressed, and I'm like, well, now that you're stressed, this is things that you can do. But last time I was here, something I noticed was that it's quite overwhelming. Like, you'll have jobs, and then you come here for the weekend, and there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of networking, and there's a lot of performing, and it's stressful, right? So I think in that vein, another invitation that I had for the group, right, is to practice this discipline of just leaning into the constructive stories. Really lean into the constructive stories. Be mindful of your stories. Be mindful of your mind, right? Oh, we're thinking about AI, and I'm a screenwriter, and I'm fucked. I don't know, but what does that say about universal basic income? Maybe it'll come quicker. You know, I don't know. Just, it's not about gaslighting yourself, and it's not about bypassing realities, right? It's a neurological practice so that you can look after yourself and look after the people around you. Right? Questions that I like to ask myself when I'm in situations that overwhelm me, like now with this microphone, is it true? Right? Are the decisions that I'm making from a place of curiosity or from fear? And what would it look like if it was easy? Nobody would want my pitch. Is that true? Or is that just an assumption that you've made? Oh, okay, I guess it's not technically true. Right? Am I choosing from a place of curiosity or from fear? Because it turns out that quality, the story that I'm telling myself, the quality of decisions that I'm making, if it's from a place of curiosity, not only is that like a psychological difference, but it impacts your physicality. It completely changes your nervous system. Not only does it change your nervous system, but it gives you access to parts of your brain, like problem solving, like creativity, like communication, like abstract thinking, that you don't have access to when you're in a place of fear. Literally, you have less sugar, less water, less access to the creative parts of your brain when you're in a place of fear. So be mindful, right? And the last one is, what would it look like if it was easy? All weekend, ask yourself, oh, I'm really overwhelmed. What would it look like if it was easy? Oh, if it was easy, I'd just leave. I'll leave. Right, as an invitation. Okay, so that's it. That was the inspirational talk. I think just to land, it's an honor to work with all of you indirectly and directly. If any of you have any questions, please speak to me. But I think this was just a prompt as somebody who works with a lot of people in the film industry, right? You will have a profound understanding of storytelling, a profound understanding of storytelling. And it's always tickled me that it's not applied innerly, like it's not applied onto oneself. So I have a lot of clients who, amazing screenwriters, but they don't understand the character that they're playing in the story of their own lives. They don't understand their own arc. They don't understand that they're in a dark night of the soul or whatever it is, right? And you are a population that has the potential to access a lot of tools in terms of storytelling that profoundly, profoundly impact your mental health, impact how long you're able to be in the industry, how you're able to be in the industry, and how you influence the people around you. Right? So get really curious about your own stories and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Thank you again all for coming, and I hope this was inspiring and eye-opening and a great start to your lab session. I know some of you will already have their lab starting this afternoon or continuing, but for whoever is free, we have our opening keynote in the library starting at 3:30, so if you do have time, please join us there. And as for the rest, enjoy when East meets West and enjoy your Inspirational Lab, and thank you again all for coming.